You're not even worth my time anymore. I can't believe I wasted 15 years on somebody so ordinary. That's what my husband said to me over breakfast on a random Tuesday in March, not during an argument, not in the heat of anger. Just casually, like he was mentioning the traffic while scrolling through his phone and eating the eggs I'd just made him. I remember my fork stopping halfway to my mouth. I remember the sunlight coming through our kitchen windows in our Back Bay townhouse. I remember thinking how weird it was that the end of your marriage could feel so completely normal. "Excuse me?" I managed to say. He didn't even glance up. "You heard me, Sarah. I'm done pretending. I haven't found you attractive in years. You've let yourself go completely. You're dull. You have nothing interesting to contribute anymore. I'm taking the guest room." And just like that, he stood up, rinsed his plate, and walked out. 15 years. Gone in under 30 seconds. I sat there for probably 20 minutes, my coffee turning cold, trying to make sense of what had just happened. But here's the thing. I wasn't shocked. Not really. I'd seen it coming for months. I'd just been too scared to admit it. Let me start over. My name is Sarah Bennett. I'm 42, or I was when this all started. I'd been married to Mark Bennett for 15 years. We met in grad school at MIT, both studying mechanical engineering. He was ambitious, charismatic, brilliant. I was drawn to his drive. He claimed he was drawn to my intelligence. We built a life. He climbed the ladder at a tech company, becoming a senior director. I stepped back from my career to raise our 2 kids, Olivia, 13, and Ethan, 10. The usual story. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself I'd go back to work when they were older. But somewhere along the way, I stopped being Sarah the engineer and became just Mark's wife, the kids' mom, the person who kept everyone else's life running while her own ambitions collected dust. The signs had been there for months before that. Tuesday morning, Mark had started going to the gym 6 days a week. Suddenly he cared about his appearance in ways he never had before. New clothes, expensive haircuts, cologne I'd never seen him buy. He'd dropped 20 pounds and looked better than he had in years. At first, I was happy for him, supportive. I encouraged it. God, I was so naive. He'd stopped touching me around the same time. At first, it was subtle, a kiss on the cheek instead of the lips, pulling back when I reached for him, excuses when I initiated anything physical. Too tired, too stressed, too busy. Then came the late meetings, the weekend emergencies, the calls he'd take in another room, the way his face would light up at a text message, then immediately go flat when he noticed me watching. I tried to talk to him about it. Multiple times. He shut me down every time, told me I was being insecure, told me I was too clingy, told me his job was intense and I should be more understanding. So I tried harder. I started making all his favorite meals again. I planned date nights. I bought new clothes. I tried to be more interesting, more fun, more whatever I thought he wanted. Nothing worked. He'd cancel our plans. He'd barely touch the food I cooked. He'd look at me with something close to disgust. That morning, when he finally said the quiet part out loud, something clicked into place. The fog lifted. Because suddenly I understood, this was never about me not being enough. This had always been about him. I waited until he left for work. Then I did something I'd never done before. I picked up his iPad, the one he always left at home, and I looked. I know. Snooping is wrong. It's a breach of trust. But you know, what else is a breach of trust? 15 years of deception. His messages were right there. All of them. Because he'd never bothered to set a different password. Why would he? I was ordinary. Boring Sarah. Too clueless to ever question him. Her name was Jessica Wong, 28 years old. A new marketing manager at his company. She'd started 9 months ago. The messages went back 8 months and 2 weeks. I read every single one. It took me 3 hours. And with each message, each photo, each explicit conversation, I felt something. Inside me hardened into something cold and sharp. They'd been together for 7 months. He told her he loved her. He'd taken her to the same restaurants we'd gone to for our anniversary. He'd used our couple's massage certificate, the one I'd given him for his birthday, to take her to the spa. He told her I was cold, that our marriage had been over for years, that he was only staying until the kids were older, that she was everything I wasn't, passionate, exciting, young. He'd promised her he'd leave me by the end of the year. But here's the most interesting part. In one message, he wrote, "I need to make sure everything's structured properly first. The house is in both names and there are investments. I need to talk to someone about how to arrange things so I don't get cleaned out." He was planning his escape, calculating how to leave me with as little as possible. While I was making his breakfast and raising his children and desperately trying to save a marriage he'd already destroyed, I took screenshots of everything. Every message, every photo, every detailed plan about their future together and how to minimize what I'd get. Then I put the iPad back exactly where I found it. I made myself a cup of tea and started planning. Here's what I didn't do. I didn't cry. I didn't confront him. I didn't fall apart. I didn't call my sister or my best friend or have a meltdown. I got strategic. The old Sarah would have confronted him immediately, would have begged him to choose us, to try counseling, to work on the marriage. The old Sarah would have believed his gaslighting, his excuses, his empty promises, but that Sarah died on a Tuesday morning in March when her husband called her ordinary. The new Sarah? She played the long game. I went back to acting normal. Sweet, oblivious Sarah, who didn't notice her husband, barely looked at her, who made dinner every night and asked about his day and never questioned where he was or who he was with. Meanwhile, I started building my case. I documented everything. I created a separate cloud account he didn't know about. I uploaded every screenshot, every piece of evidence. I photographed credit card statements showing spa visits, restaurant charges, hotel rooms. I opened a bank account in just my name. Started moving small amounts there every week from our joint account. Grocery money, gas money, amounts too small for him to notice. I made copies of every financial document we had. Investment accounts, retirement funds, the deed to the house, his employment agreements. Then I called a lawyer, not just any lawyer. I asked around quietly. I found the best divorce attorney in Boston, Patricia O'Connor. She had a reputation for being absolutely relentless in getting her clients everything they deserved. I met with her on a Wednesday afternoon while Mark was at work and the kids were at school. I brought everything I'd gathered. She reviewed it. All. Then she looked at me with something like admiration. "Mrs. Bennett," she said, "you've done my job for me. This is ironclad. He doesn't have a chance." "Good," I said, "because I want everything I'm entitled to. He wants to call me ordinary. He wants to throw away 15 years like they meant nothing. Then he can pay for that choice." She smiled. "I like you. We're going to work well together. We planned everything carefully. In Massachusetts, there's no required separation period for no-fault divorce. But I wanted fault. I wanted everyone to know exactly what he'd done. Patricia advised me to wait a few more weeks to gather more evidence to make sure he didn't get suspicious and start hiding assets. So I waited. I played the perfect wife. I smiled when he came home late. I didn't comment when he moved his things into the guest room, claiming his snoring would bother me. I even suggested he should take a weekend trip to unwind, knowing full well he'd take Jessica. He did, and I documented it all, the hotel charges in the Berkshires, the photos she posted on Instagram of their secret getaway before quickly deleting them. During those weeks, I also did something else. I started taking care of myself, not for him, not to win him back. For me, I found a therapist, Dr. Rachel Stein. She was amazing. In our first session, I poured out everything that had happened. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Angry," I said, humiliated, stupid for not seeing it sooner. "You're not stupid," she said firmly. "You trusted someone you loved. That's not stupidity, that's being human." Over the next few weeks, she helped me understand something crucial. Mark's betrayal wasn't about my worth, it was about his character. I could have been perfect in every way, and he still would have done this, because this was who he was, someone who valued novelty over commitment, who blamed others for his choices, who lied to avoid consequences. I also hired a trainer, started working out 4 times a week, not to look good for Mark or compete with Jessica, but because I needed to feel strong. I needed to remember that my body was mine and it could be powerful. I reconnected with my professional network, reached out to old colleagues from my engineering days, started exploring what opportunities existed, started remembering that I'd once been excellent at what I did, and I made a plan for after, for what my life would look like when this was over. 6 weeks after that Tuesday morning, Patricia told me it was time. We filed on a Wednesday. Mark was served at work. The papers outlined everything: adultery, detailed evidence, request for primary custody, spousal support, division of all marital assets. He called me 47 times that afternoon. I didn't answer. I was at Patricia's office waiting. He came home that evening looking like he'd been hit by a truck. "Sarah, we need to talk." "No, we don't," I said calmly. "Everything I have to say is in those papers. You can communicate through my attorney." "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly. You've been sleeping with Jessica Wong for 7 months. You've been planning to leave me while trying to hide as much money as possible. You've been lying to me for nearly a year. Did I miss anything?" His face went white. "How did you? Your iPad. You should have used a better password. Or maybe you just thought I was too ordinary and boring to ever think of looking." I watched him process this, watched him cycle through denial, anger, panic. "Sarah, please, it was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. We can work this out." "No, we can't. Because you're right about one thing. You did waste 15 years, but not the way you think. You wasted 15 years with someone who loved you, who supported you, who built a life with you. And you threw it away for someone young enough to be impressed by your title and your expensive dinners. The kids will be fine. Because, unlike you, I actually care about their well-being more than my own ego, which is why I documented everything, including your plans to minimize what you'd owe them. You can't take my kids from me. I'm not taking them. You'll have visitation. But primary custody will be mine. You work 70 hours a week, and you're in a relationship with someone they've never met. I'm the stable parent. The court will see that." He tried to argue, tried to threaten, tried to bargain. I stayed calm through all of it. Finally, he left. Went to a hotel, or maybe to Jessica's. I didn't care. The kids got home an hour later. I sat them down and told them their father and I were getting divorced. That it wasn't their fault. That we both still loved them. That nothing about their lives would change except Dad would live somewhere else. Olivia, my 13-year-old, looked at me with eyes too old for her age. "Is he cheating on you?" I wasn't going to lie to her. "Yes," she nodded. I kind of figured. "He's been different." Ethan, my 10-year-old, just cried. I held him while he asked me why. I told him I wished I had better answers. It was the hardest conversation I've ever had. But I got through it because I was stronger than I'd been 6 weeks. I'll go. The divorce took 4 months. 4 months of legal battles, of negotiating, of Mark trying every trick to pay less, keep more, look better. But Patricia was brilliant. Every time he tried something, she had the evidence to counter it. Every lie he told, she exposed. Every asset he tried to hide, she found. The breakthrough came when we discovered something interesting. Mark had been using company resources for his affair. Company time. Company credit cards for some of their hotels. Even a company car for a weekend trip. His company had a strict morality clause. Patricia sent them a detailed letter outlining the evidence. 3 days later, Mark was fired. Not just fired, terminated for cause, which meant no severance, no unvested stock options, nothing. He lost his 6-figure job because he couldn't keep his pants on. The final settlement came through in July. I got the house, I got primary custody, with him having the kids every other weekend. I got 60% of all marital assets, including his 401k and investment accounts. I got 5 years of spousal support, enough to go back to school if I wanted or to live comfortably while I rebuilt my career. He had to pay child support based on his previous income level, even though he was now unemployed. Jessica, by the way, broke up with him 2 weeks after he lost his job. Apparently, a 45-year-old unemployed man living in a studio apartment wasn't as exciting as a successful director with money to burn. Karma works fast. But here's the thing. None of that was the real victory. The real victory was what happened next. While Mark was scrambling to find a new job and figure out how to pay his lawyers, I was rebuilding my life. I'd started consulting part-time for an engineering firm, using skills I'd let atrophy for over a decade. And I was good at it. Really good. Within 2 months, they offered me a full-time position. Senior consultant. Nearly 6 figures to start. I accepted. I'd also kept up with therapy. Dr. Stein helped me work through not just the betrayal, but all the ways I'd diminished myself over the years. All the dreams I'd deferred. All the times I'd made myself smaller. To keep Mark comfortable. You spent 15 years being who he wanted you to be, she told me. Now you get to discover who you actually are. And I did. I took up painting again, something I'd loved in college but abandoned. I started hiking with a local group. I went to dinner with friends I'd neglected. I traveled with the kids to places Mark had never wanted to go. I became myself again. Not ordinary, not boring. Just me. And it turned out I was pretty interesting. I also started dating eventually. Not seriously at first, just coffee dates, casual dinners, testing the waters, remembering what it felt like to have someone look at me with interest instead of contempt. His name was David Chen, 43, civil engineer, divorced, 2 kids of his own. We met at a professional conference in October. We started talking about structural calculations and somehow ended up discussing our favorite hiking trails. He asked me to dinner. I said yes. No drama, no love bombing, no rushing, just 2 people who'd been through similar experiences, taking things slow, actually getting to know each other. On our 3rd date, he told me, "You know what I love about you? You're real. You're not trying to be anything other than who you are. It's refreshing." I almost cried. Because after 15 years of trying to be enough for someone who would never value me, here was someone who appreciated me exactly as I was. We've been together for 8 months now. It's healthy, it's respectful, it's partnership, not performance. The kids like him, they like his kids. We're building something real and solid, no games, no lies. Meanwhile, Mark is on his 3rd job since the divorce. Can't seem to keep one. Keeps getting let go for performance issues, which probably has something to do with the fact that everyone in the Boston tech scene knows what he did. Word travels fast in professional communities, and when you're fired for cause for an affair, people remember. He tried dating again. Jessica wasn't the only young woman who lost interest when his circumstances changed. Turns out when you're broke and bitter, you're not as attractive as you thought. Last I heard, he's seeing someone age-appropriate who doesn't put up with his nonsense. Good for her. I hope she got a better version than I did. Though I doubt it. He sees the kids every other weekend, like the agreement states. They're polite with him. Olivia barely tolerates him. Ethan tries harder, because that's who he is. Kind. Forgiving. They're both in therapy to help process everything. I ran into Mark about a month ago at a coffee shop downtown. He looked tired. Older. The gym habit apparently didn't last when he couldn't afford the membership. He saw me and froze. I was with David. We'd just come from a morning run. We're laughing. About something. Both of us glowing and happy. "Sarah," Mark said. "Mark," I replied. Polite but distant. He looked at David, looked at me. I could see him calculating, comparing, seeing that I was genuinely happy, that I'd moved on in every way that mattered. "You look good," he said quietly. "I am good," I said. "Take care of yourself, Mark." And I walked away, because I didn't need his validation anymore, didn't need him to see what he'd lost, didn't need any kind of closure from him. I'd already won, not because of the settlement, not because he lost his job, not because I found someone better. I won because I found myself. That Tuesday morning in March when he called me ordinary, he thought he was crushing me, thought he was passing judgment on my worth. Instead, he set me free. Free from trying to please someone who would never be pleased. Free from shrinking myself to fit his expectations. Free from a marriage that was slowly suffocating who I really was. He thought 15 years with me was wasted. But I spent those 15 years raising 2 incredible kids, building a home, developing skills that would serve me later, learning exactly what I didn't want in a partner. And when it ended, I didn't fall apart. I got strategic. I got strong. I got everything I deserved. People ask me sometimes if I'm angry, if I hate him for what he did. Honestly, no, I'm grateful, because his betrayal, his cruelty, his selfishness, his complete lack of respect, it woke me up. It forced me to stop being passive in my own life. It made me remember that I was capable and intelligent and worthy, regardless of whether he saw it. The best revenge isn't making him suffer. It's living so well that his opinion of me becomes completely irrelevant. And that's exactly what I did. I'm 43 now. I have a career I love, kids who are thriving, a partner who values me, friends who support me, hobbies that fulfill me, a life that's entirely mine. Mark wanted to trade me in for a newer model. Instead, he traded a partner for loneliness, traded stability for chaos, traded someone who loved him for a series of people who loved what he used to represent. He traded resentment for peace, traded settling for thriving, traded being ordinary in his eyes for being extraordinary in my own. So yeah. When my husband told me I wasn't worth the effort anymore, I proved him right. I wasn't worth his effort because I was worth so much more than he was capable of giving. And now I'm living a life that proves it every single day. That's my story. Not of being a victim, not of being destroyed by betrayal, but of being underestimated by someone who thought I was weak and using that to build something stronger than he ever imagined. The woman he called ordinary? She's gone. And in her place is someone who knows exactly what she's worth.